The title of my presentation, and you'll know how informative it's going to be and deeply technical when I tell you this title, is that the future of the internet is snooky. So it'll all kind of come together later on in my presentation, but it's very interesting when I was asked to speak about the vision of the internet in the future and how it's evolved, and I think in many ways it's similar to the evolution I've gone through. So this was me many, many years ago. I mean, it's not really me, but it was me. You know, I started out in the computer business about 28 years ago. I sold IBM mainframe stuff, and I sold modems, and I sold really technical stuff. And I learned a long, long time ago, the only people that are really interested in my business are the people in my business. Everybody outside of my business really doesn't find it that interesting or sexy. My wife is an eye doctor. I used to go to eye doctor parties, and the doctors used to come to me and say, "What do you do?" And I say, "Oh, I'm in internet security." And they'd have this blank look on their face, and they say, "What does that mean? Do you work with computers?" And I say, "Yeah, I work with computers, kinda." And they say, "Oh, I bought this software and I can't get it to work. Can you help me?" And I'm like, "No, I don't know anything about that." And they go to my wife and they go, "Oh, man, thank God you're a doctor." So the funny thing is, ever since I got on TV, that doesn't happen so much anymore. All of a sudden, people really want to talk to me. You know, it's all about the media. So in many ways, this was the internet. It was very single purpose. It was pretty geeky. It wasn't that hot and exciting like it is today. So about, 8 years ago, I'm sitting at my desk and I get a package from CBC and they say, "Have a look at this video and give us a call." So the video was a copy of Dragon's Den from Japan. So Dragon's Den is a Japanese show that runs in 40 countries. And how did I get on the show? Literally, somebody sent me a tape. I went in, I auditioned. I didn't know I was auditioning, and it started. So in the first 3 years in Canada, the show used to get, 80,000 to 200,000 viewers. So here's how popular Dragon's Den used to be. First time somebody recognized me, I think was our second year, and I was walking down the street, and somebody, I thought, out of the corner of my eye, pointed at me and said, blah, 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 blah. So I go home and I tell my wife, I said, "You're not going to believe this. Somebody recognized me." And my wife said, "You're so full of yourself." And I said, "No, really." So that night, we go to a Barbra Streisand concert. Don't ask. So we're lining up for the Barbra Streisand concert, and the place is packed. And out of the corner of my eye, I see this woman looking at me. And so I hit my wife, and I say, "That woman recognizes me." And my wife's like, "Where? Who?" I'm like, "Right over there." And so she's making her way through the crowd, and I hit my wife, and I go, "Look, she's going to come over and talk to me. This is so exciting." And so finally, she comes up to me and she goes, oh my God, you're that guy. You're that gay designer from TV." So she thought I was, there's a show called Chris and Steven, right? So she thought I was the Chris guy, the guy with the hair. That's how popular we were. And daytime show ratings are very low. Today, Dragon's Den is the most popular Canadian TV show of all time. We regularly beat Hockey Night in Canada. It's a phenomena, but it's been 6 years. This is our 7th season now. The American show just started 3 years ago, and it is now one of the highest rated shows on ABC in its 3rd season. And, you know, all of this stuff allows you to do certain really cool stuff. By the way, the ultimate in cool for being a TV guy happened to me last night. So I went to a concert. Has anybody ever heard of a rock group called One Direction? So if you have a 14-year-old daughter, like I do, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So these are a bunch of boys from London. They were put together in a group, and they're going to be the biggest band in the world. Their record came out a few months ago, and it's one of the highest-selling records ever in England. Anyway, I took my daughters to see the concert yesterday, and we got to go backstage and meet the boys. And one of the kids, his name's Harry, came up to me and goes, "Oh my God, you're the guy from Shark Tank." So my daughter thought that was really cool. But being on TV lets you do all kinds of really cool stuff. The show in Canada actually won 2 Geminis. We got to ring the opening bell at NASDAQ a couple of years ago. This was the media that followed us around that day when we were ringing the bell. By the way, it's a pure electronic exchange. I'm such an idiot. I said to the chairman of the NASDAQ, I said, "Hey, if we have some time later, could I see the trading floor?" And he looked at me thinking, "Really? You're in the computer business? You don't know this is an electronic exchange?" Anyway, I got to do a national print ad with my Aston Martin all over Canada. We wrote a best-selling book a couple of years ago, became a national bestseller for a whole year. This is, when I say Shark Tank to Canadians, this is what Canadians think of as a shark. Beautiful, tough creature swimming through the water. When you say shark to Americans, this is what they want to see. They want to see a shark eating a seal with blood dripping out its mouth. You know, people always say to me, "What's the difference between the Canadian show and the American show?" I say there's no difference in the people coming to pitch to us, because there's no such thing as the American dream or the Canadian dream. I think it's the human condition to want to do better. But the intensity of the show is much higher. So all of this stuff is really wonderful. But you know, there was a pivotal moment in the American show where all this stuff started to happen. There was a pivotal moment when the show went from being a hit like this to a really big hit. And it was Snooki. A few weeks ago, the show airs, and Snooki tweets, "I'm watching Shark Tank right now. I am so into it." Boom. I know this sounds crazy, but I'm telling you, our ratings went boom. That week, we had the highest rating ever for a show on ABC on Friday night. And it was because it opened up the show to a whole new audience. In fact, you'll find this interesting. What we do during the American show, and it's now in our contract, is we live tweet. Shark Tank was the first show that used Twitter as part of the original broadcast feed. So all 5 of us get together, and we're on Twitter, and as the show's airing, we're actually Twittering as to what's going on. It's incredible. Now all the shows on ABC are starting to do that. So, 1995. This was how we accessed the internet. Pretty classic device. And internet security, I know you guys talked a lot about that this morning. $10 for anybody that recognizes which movie this is from. Damn. Probably the wrong crowd to ask that question in. I go to crowds and I throw this up and people are like, "What? That's a movie?" All right, who's the lady on the left? Whoa. Okay. So the movie's called Hackers. It's from 1995, and it was a bunch of kids that got together and they hacked into 1,400 servers. And that attack threatened to bring down the entire financial system of the world. Right? This was our interface. Male, And this was the guy who was master of the universe at the time. I'm a car guy, so I had to throw in a car analogy. This was the fastest Ferrari in production in 1995. It was called the Ferrari F355, had 380 horsepower, went to 0 to 60 in 4.8 seconds. So this is a device that I always talk about. You know, in 1995, we talked about that there would be one device to do everything on. And this is a constant argument in our field, best of breed versus a single supplier. So every morning, my kids go into the kitchen, they touch 3 devices: the fridge, the microwave, and the toaster. I'm pretty sure these devices are never going to be integrated together. But in 1995, that's what we talked about. We talked about that there would be no cell phone, there would be no computer, there would be this magical pad that we access everything on. You could argue some of that has happened and some of it hasn't. Here's where we are today, right? I have to thank Palo Alto for letting me use some of their slides, by the way. Facebook, a lot of apps are online. You guys talked about that this morning. Interfaces are much more graphic. File sharing online. Gmail. So here's an interesting statistic. I'm sure you guys talked about this, but 1 billion hours were spent on Facebook last July in a single month. 600 million users are on Facebook today. Actually, I think that's old. I think it's 750 million or something now, isn't it? 8? Wow. Geez, I could update my slides. 90 million users on LinkedIn. Again, that's old. 65 million tweets last month. Although I think there were 64 million at the concert I was at last night by 14-year-old girls. Here's an interesting stat. I read this in the Wall Street Journal. They did a survey of large enterprises, and they asked the employees how many of them access social media during the day. So 90% of respondents said that they accessed either Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn during the day. 90%.